Hi there, do you have a few moments to answer a few questions? I'm from Grocery Busters.
Sure, I guess.
So, would you consider yourself to be a health conscious consumer?
Um, yeah, I guess so. I like eating multigrain Cheerios actually, because I don't like sugar so much. You know, cereals like Captain Crunch, Reese Puffs, Fruit Loops. Stuff's obviously full of sugar.
Wow, and do you think corn is a healthy vegetable?
Yeah, it's a vegetable. Why wouldn't it be?
Oh well, then you'd be happy to hear that most of these cereals here are actually made of majority of corn or corn byproduct. But the downside is it's not the good kind of corn.
What do you mean, good kind? How can corn be bad for you?
Well, depending on the kind of corn and how it's grown, this corn could be genetically modified, which it probably is if it's imported from the States. And genetically modified corn is known to lead to causes of diabetes, obesity, and also heart problems.
Wow, it's awful.
I know, right? Like, who would have thought? So, do you notice anything else different about the cereal aisle?
The cereal scattered randomly?
Actually, it's not scattered randomly. If you look at it, the kids' cereals that are really high in sugar and the really funky looking ones are always near the bottom row. Because that is the height that kids see when they walk around. Whereas the healthy alternatives such as Honey Nut Cheerios and the multi-grain Cheerios are in the top to high sections because that's where adults typically look at.
Huh. That does make sense actually.
Yeah, and you know what else is amazing?
What?
Most of these brands here, it looks like there's a lot of variety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's actually not true at all. In fact, that's really far from the truth. Take Honey Nut Cheerios for an example. There's like 5 different kinds of Honey Nut Cheerios, and they take up most of this one single shelf right here. And what's even more amazing is that they're owned by a company called General Mills that also own Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Cookie Crisp, Golden Grams, Reese Puffs, Nesquik, and Lucky Charms.
Huh. Wait a minute. We also own Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
General Mills isn't the only company that owns a bunch of brands. Kellogg's is another one of them. They own Corn Pops, Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, Mini Wheats, and Rice Krispies. Next week on Grocery Busters, we dive into a dumpster filled with hummus. Is there a reason you're like this?
Long day.
Yeah, I get that.
So, today we chose to go to the No Frills near our house. You know, local, nearby. We went to like a lot growing up. So I felt like it was a pretty good place for us to do our supermarket tour.
Yeah. Except the biggest reason was because, you know, they got no frills. Go on.
So, what did you think about the supermarket tour? Anything surprise you?
Actually, yeah, I was pretty surprised. Like, coming from the supermarket tour book, they said that almost every dried good product was made with corn and soy.
Mm-hmm.
And when we actually looked at the ingredients at the granola and the cereal, like almost maybe like probably 70-80% of them had corn or corn byproduct in it. And that was pretty surprising.
I feel like that's the case because like I think the U.S. makes most of the world's corn production. And when they have a big surplus of that, they naturally have to find other ways to make use of the corn. So and eventually they just developed corn preservatives and such.
Yeah, and it's pretty crazy too how like the book mentioned about like genetically modified corn and how it can like lead to obesity and like health problems and diabetes. And it's like it's crazy how the ingredients, they just tell you there's corn in it, but they don't tell you if it's naturally sourced or not. So like you're kind of just taking a gamble.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time, I think pretty sure it's just genetically modified corn though. That's how they increase production so much.
Yeah, probably why it's so cheap too.
We also chose the what aisle did we choose today?
Sorry, what?
The aisle.
Oh, so we chose the dry foods aisle, and that's because it's like nostalgic. When you're a kid, you always wanted to eat cereal. My favorite was the corn pops because I don't know, it was yellow. I loved yellow.
I think I like Rice Krispies growing up, just for the texture, not really for the taste. They don't taste like anything.
Yeah, you're weird. What's wrong with you?
And like, you look at all the cereal brands, they're actually all owned by like, I think two companies, Kellogg's and General Mills. And they have a few other companies, I think it was Post or something that owns a few brands. Pepsi owns like Sugar Crisps, I think.
Yeah, and Quaker.
Yeah. And because they have these two companies competing with so many different boxes and brands, smaller companies aren't able to enter these markets because these shelves are stocked all with their products. They have their products, they have the family sizes, the brands they don't care about. But by forcing supermarkets to have all of these brands up on your shelves, in addition to your prime money making brands, other brands have literally no space to be put on at all. Which is, I feel like how, these companies keep their duopoly of the cereal market.
Yeah, but what's pretty interesting though was that since No Frills is owned by Loblaws, like Loblaws is, I think they also own President's Choice. It's like interesting seeing that President's Choice brand was also like at the prime spots too, and like it wasn't just General Mills and like Kellogg's, and that they had like really nice spots too, just to promote their own brand.
Yeah, like nothing is really random. Like the fact that you see all these aisles, everything placed in these aisles, it wasn't just randomly just breakfast stuff. That was the idea. It's all breakfast goods. You get cereal, maybe you want coffee with that too, like your tea or like your snacks afterwards, right?
Yeah.